Meiny Prins. In 2003, you became the second generation of the Prins family to join the Preva Group, a family-run business that was founded in the Westland district of South Holland. A year later, you were appointed Managing Director and assigned a strategic management portfolio. In 2007, you were appointed Preva General Manager and initiated a Preva-wide strategy that integrated various business units in order to achieve a degree of synergy that strengthened the company's innovative capacity. This resulted in the merger of Preva Agro and Preva Building Intelligence to form a consolidated Preva with a renewed vision. You now have offices throughout the world, and Preva has become the world market leader in climate control and process management in the greenhouse horticulture sector. In 2009, you were voted Dutch Businesswoman of the Year. Meiny Prins, welcome to Australia.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction.
In your presentation to the Hydroponic Farmers Federation, you highlighted a crisis in greenhouse horticulture in Europe. What developments in Europe have led to this current crisis in horticulture?
Well, there are different developments. There's always more than only one thing, of course, in the world. First we had the economic crisis, what made a point, but then on top of that there became a kind of a crisis of the prices. It's a crisis in the marketing of the products. That meant that the growers in the Netherlands were not getting the price anymore for their products, way below cost price. According to the investments they have done in the last years, it is really painful at this moment. So the investments in the greenhouses were very high last couple of years, mostly according to do with the energy production idea a greenhouse can do. And then when the prices goes down in this matter, then you have a serious problem, and many growers lost millions of euros a year.
Meiny, with austerity measures currently sweeping Europe, what sort of impacts will there be on the Dutch greenhouse horticultural industry?
Most of it will be the knowledge. Maybe it sounds weird that I say so, but what happens today, because everyone is using the cost reductions to survive, to keep their companies alive, we have many companies have to fire their people. But everyone has invested quite a lot in the last years, namely in the knowledge from our own people, from technical staff, for your technical salespeople, but also in the universities. And what you see now is a complete movement between all parts of the whole sector. When new programs are not started up, new innovations are not done anymore. Technical people working at your company are disappearing to other sectors. They will never come back. So the gap that we're getting now maybe cost us about 7 to 10 years backwards in time, and that's really a waste. I think this is a pity.
What are the parallels between the European markets and your view of the situation in Australia?
If it's according to the fruit and the flower production, so the horticulture market, I think both worlds have the same issue in that the entrepreneur, the grower, really goes for lowering their cost. So they want to always lower the cost of producing their products most of the time. That means that there has been a lot of investment in new technologies and getting new technologies in and new studies and things like that. And both worlds forget what marketing can do, what it means to be involved in your own chain, what it means to create added value, what it means to be responsible for selling your own product instead of giving it to someone else. And there are all kinds of ways that they can find their own way in that. But that's, I think, something that's very parallel between the two markets.
You mentioned in your keynote presentation that the European greenhouse horticultural market is hampered by the position growers define for themselves. Can you explain this further?
Yeah, what I meant with that is that the growers today are facing a serious problem in their own chain. And they created by themselves that chain too, so they're part of it, of course. But it has to do with the supply chain. So you have a layer of growers and they're in between the grower and the one who's really buying the product. In between there is an enormous complexity of all kinds of trading, auction, export logistics, and whatever, and they fighting each other for the lowest price. So the grower is kind of catched up in his own environment. To go and to break through that is an enormous step, because they have to create their own marketing around the ones who are also selling their products. So it's kind of, you want to skip a lot of companies who are also having their profits by doing their business, and that is really almost impossible to do. So they're locked up.
Meiny, how important are the Australian, New Zealand, Asian and Pacific markets to Priva?
It's growing year by year, and it's going fast. That is probably because of the big world picture problems we are facing together, like more sustainability is a world problem. Food production is a world problem. A water issue, usable water, is a world problem. But most of it looks like that Asia, Australia, New Zealand are really facing those problems too. And it makes it more interesting for us as Priva to get closer to those markets. So 5 years ago we started in China, but the business did not grow very well, so it's very slow. Not in Vietnam and not in Korea, that was okay, but in China itself it didn't grow fast enough. So we decided there to go for education, to help the growers to get to the next step, to have a showcase and show how they really could make money out of doing the business differently. And Australia is getting more interesting for us because of your water issues. If you pay for water, it's interesting for us to see if we can help to even get more and a better profit on the square meter with even more less use of water. And we know we can do it, so that's for us a big opportunity.
Historically, growers have been price takers. What advice can you offer to turn this around so growers can be price makers?
It is one very, very important one is take small steps. So you have to have a big picture as a vision, so where you want to be in 10 years. And then you make just smaller steps. So you can first start asking your customer if they want some kind of typical packaging, something easy. Then you look for partnerships. Or you can ask them if they look for another type of a product they would like in the supermarket or in the retail or on the fresh market. Or you can look for a complete package to bring, and then you look for cooperation with other growers who have different products. So there are always kind of things, but kind of you have to add some kind of a level of a service to your product. And as soon as you do that, you see also in the Netherlands, the one who are able to do the whole packaging and transport as a corporation of growers, they're doing fine. Not on the product itself, but on the added value they have in the chain. If you have the grower of the potatoes, and he's not getting a lot of money for his potatoes, but the fact that he's making potato chips of it makes him to get the money. And everyone has to look for his own value in the chain.
In which way can growers work on increasing their added value rather than reduction of cost price?
It's always very difficult because it's very personal for everyone. Every entrepreneur is looking for his own strategy and his own marketing. For growers, because you are so much woven with fresh products and always are very dependent on what the chain does and what the supermarket does, it's difficult to step out of the structure you're used to. But it is possible. And we see that also happening in the Netherlands. We had a marketing of the year event started last year. This year it was again for the second time. There were already 300 entrepreneurs joining for a prize, showing how you can work with marketing on your own fresh product. And this year it was a potato grower, and he won because he's making his homemade natural flavored tomato chips. And so this is very nice that it's happening. But you have to look for your own way in creating added value. It can be possible that you do some packaging for someone else, or you're doing some services for the supermarket, or you're delivering it in a different way, or you're connected to the fish growth market and you have fresh products, or you make a brand, but the brand only has existence, right to exist, if it is loaded by some values you add to it, and otherwise there is no brand.
In your keynote presentation, you advocate the need for system breakthroughs to meet the demands for future food production. Can you elaborate on the direction of these breakthroughs?
I think I want to point out what I think is very important breakthrough. If you look at the world, and we have on very much places, we have a lot of knowledge and people who can grow, so the green fingers we call that. What you see is that we know now from big trend watching, that the food production in the future will happen close to where the people are. So close to the big cities in the world, to the metropolitans, there will be also the food production. It's because the labor is there, but it's also because the food is needed there. So it's close together. It has to do with the CO2 footprint in the world, the reduction. So we are not going to transport food all over the world anymore. It's going to be more local produced. And I think that's an issue that governments really should care for. You cannot put greenhouses in the middle of the desert. I mean, technology-wise, we can do it, but it's not handy. You have to put it close there where the people are. That also means that you get more diversification of products within the greenhouse. So that the greenhouse starts to deliver energy to its neighborhood. That the neighborhood gives the water to the greenhouses. So there will be new, I call it with a nice word, sustainable deltas, where everything is being connected together to get the best energy flows and water flows you can imagine.
Meiny, you've just visited China to sign a memorandum of an agreement. Can you tell me a little more about this PRIVA initiative?
Yes, it's a wonderful initiative, and I'm very happy with it because in China we did not grow so fast, what I was told before, and we are looking for some kind of education. But I asked a Chinese installation company from why doesn't the market going faster, because there are a lot of people here to feed. So what's the problem? It's growing in the flowers but not in the food. And then he told me that the Chinese people need a proof. They need a showcase to learn that they can grow more than 30 kilos the tomatoes a square meter. As soon as they can see that it really can happen, then they understand that the investment is good to do, to invest in a greenhouse. So that is what we are going to do there. We're going to prove it on a sustainable way. And that's where it also hits PRIVA and its products all the way it can. Because we are delivering a process computer and management information software and water treatment products, but all connected together. It is only one thing is important, that we help our growers to get a better profit, a rendement on their product, on the square meter, so higher up the yield, with less use of energy and most possible reuse of water. And as soon as we make that, you can help a grower, an entrepreneur in his primary process to have a better profit at the end of the year. And this is really where the business for PRIVA is all about. So it's about education, it's about delivering the good products that help them understand what our grower is dealing with.
Meiny, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in Australia.
Thank you very much. It's very nice here.
Thank you.